Chapter 1, Rules of the Game. Massimo's POV. The puck sliced across the ice like it knew exactly where I wanted it to go. My skates dug into the frozen surface, blades carving sharp lines as I faked right, then spun left. With 3 seconds on the clock, I wound up and fired. The puck sailed clean past the goalie and slammed into the back of the net just as the final buzzer blared through the rink. The crowd exploded. Horns, cheers, screaming fans. It was chaos, the best kind. I ripped off my gloves and tossed them in the air as my teammates tackled me in celebration. Someone hoisted me onto their shoulders, and I threw my arms up like a king, basking in the roar of victory. Captain, MVP, star forward, the guy everyone wanted to be or be with. I scanned the stands out of habit, catching flashes of our school's colors, kids waving signs with my name in glitter, girls squealing as they recorded me on their phones. I gave them my signature wink. Cliché? I know, but it worked. It always worked. I had the school wrapped around my finger. Except for one very real problem. Despite the game-winning goal, despite the scouts in the stands taking notes, I had a math grade that was about to kill my season. And if coach found out I flunked the next midterm, I wouldn't just be benched, I'd be invisible. No game time, no spotlight, no scholarship dreams, nothing. Back in the locker room, the guys were riding the high from the win. I stripped off my sweat-soaked jersey and let out a satisfied breath. My dark curls were plastered to my forehead, and I grabbed a towel to wipe the sweat from my neck. At 18, I was in peak shape, broad shoulders, lean muscle, and 6 feet of pure Italian confidence, or so people like to say. But confidence doesn't fix a stats average hovering in the low 60s. Logan Carter, my best friend and defenseman, clapped me hard on the shoulder. "You absolutely smoked that goalie," he grinned, tossing me a water bottle. "That spin move? Filthy." I shrugged with a grin. Had to give the crowd something to scream about. He laughed. "You always do." Speaking of, you see Olivia practically throwing her bra at you from the third row? I snorted. "Not my type." "She was your type last month." "Exactly, past tense." We both laughed, but my stomach twisted as the memory of my math teacher's warning echoed in my head. One more failed quiz, and I'd be off the team. Out of the spotlight. Off the radar. "You know coach isn't bluffing, right?" Logan said, like he could read my mind. "You fail that next exam, you're riding pine until June." "Yeah," I muttered. "Thanks for the reminder. I might have found you a tutor." I raised an eyebrow. "You got a smart girlfriend I don't know about?" He rolled his eyes. "No, my sister." I blinked. "Wait, you mean Sophia?" He nodded. "Yeah, she's a stats wizard, straight A's since diapers, plus she's got a soft spot for helping hopeless cases like you." I frowned, trying to picture her. I'd seen Sophia Carter around, but she was quiet, shy, always hiding behind oversized hoodies and big glasses. Beautiful in a way most guys at school were too blind to notice. Deep hazel eyes, smooth olive skin, full lips she rarely smiled with, and this bookish, delicate vibe that made you think she belonged in a library, not walking the same halls as hockey royalty. "She's like a kid, though," I said. "She's 17. You're barely a year older." I shrugged. "She's your sister, man. That's like crossing into cursed territory." He narrowed his eyes. "Exactly. So keep your damn hands to yourself." I held up my hands in mock surrender. "Relax, I'm not going to flirt with your nerdy little sister. I need help, not drama." He gave me a long, suspicious look. "She's meeting you tomorrow after school in the library. Don't screw it up." The next day, the library smelled like old pages, highlighters, and anxiety. It was quiet, except for the occasional rustle of paper or the scratch of a pen on notebook paper. I spotted Sophia at the far table near the windows. She was curled over a textbook, her long brown hair swept into a messy bun, thick-rimmed glasses perched on her nose as she scribbled in the margins of a worksheet. She wore an oversized navy sweater and jeans, legs tucked beneath her on the chair like she belonged there, hidden and unnoticed, until I sat down across from her. "You're late," she said without looking up. I blinked. "You timed me?" "You were supposed to be here 10 minutes ago," she replied, flipping a page. "That's 10 less minutes to fix your grade." "Okay." She had fire, unexpected. "I'm Massimo," I offered, sliding into the chair and flashing my usual charming grin. She finally looked up, and I was hit by those hazel eyes. They were sharp and soft all at once, like sunlight filtered through whiskey. "I know who you are." I grinned wider. "Then you already like me." Saves us time. Her expression didn't change. What I know is that you're Logan's best friend, the school's biggest flirt, and currently sitting at a 62 in statistics. My smile faltered. You memorized my grade? No, your teacher emailed me. She shut her book and folded her hands neatly on top of it. Let's get something straight. I'm not here to be impressed. I'm not one of your cheerleaders. I'm helping you because Logan asked me to. That's it. If you waste my time or try any of your charming nonsense, I'm gone. Damn, I was not expecting the quiet girl to come with knives. Noted, I said, folding my arms. Let's begin, Professor Carter. And damn if she wasn't good at it. She explained formulas like they were common sense, correcting me without making me feel like a complete idiot. For once, I wasn't thinking about the team or the crowd or the million distractions I usually chase to keep my head from sinking. I was just there, with her. And unlike every other girl who ever tried to help me study, Sophia didn't flirt. She didn't toss her hair or touch my arm or laugh at my jokes. She just taught, focused, efficient, totally in control. You're not hopeless, she said after about half an hour. Is that a compliment? More of an observation. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. You're smart, pretty, kind of terrifying. Why aren't you ruling the school? She glanced at me, one brow raised. Not interested in ruling anything. You don't go to parties, don't date, don't even smile that much. I smile. Not at me. That's because you're not funny. I grinned. Give it time. When the session ended, I walked her to her car. The sun had dipped below the trees, casting everything in soft gold shadows. The lot was quiet, almost empty. Thanks for the help, I said. She gave me a curt nod as she unlocked her car. Same time Thursday? Yeah, see you then. She climbed in and I stood there for a second longer than necessary, watching her drive off. Something about her stuck in my brain, and not just because she was smart. It was the way she didn't try to impress me, the way she made me feel normal. She was off limits, untouchable, which meant she was going to haunt me. That night, I lay in bed staring at my phone, thumb hovering over Logan's name. I should have sent a quick, thanks for the hookup text. Instead, I found myself opening Instagram and searching for Sophia's page. Private, figures. I tossed the phone aside and scrubbed a hand through my hair. No, I wasn't going there. Not with her. But just as I started drifting off, my phone buzzed again. Blocked number. One new message. Stay away from her, or you'll lose more than just the game. I sat up, staring at the screen. My blood turned cold. What the hell?
Chapter 2, The Equation. I can't solve Sophia's POV. The smell of dry erase markers and too strong cleaning chemicals clung to the air as I stepped into the library conference room Thursday afternoon. My fingers were cold despite the warm sleeves of my oversized cream-colored sweater, and I hugged my textbook closer to my chest like a shield. I shouldn't have said yes. Massimo was everything I avoided. Loud, confident, beautiful. The kind of guy who walked into a room like he owned the oxygen. I'd spent 3 years floating in the corners of crowded hallways, keeping my head down, keeping to myself, and I liked it that way. Silence was predictable. Books didn't lie. Equations made sense. Guys like Massimo? They were chaos, dressed in charm and cologne. And now he was sitting at the table like he had every right to be there. Tall and stupidly handsome, with messy black curls, tanned olive skin, a jawline that could slice glass, and dark eyes that tracked me the second I entered the room. He looked like he belonged on the cover of a European soccer magazine, not struggling to pass pre-college statistics. He smirked. You're early. I was here before you said that. I dropped my bag on the table and sat without looking at him. He leaned forward, resting his chin on his hand. You always this fun? Or am I just special? I didn't answer. The less I fed his ego, the better. I opened the textbook and slid a worksheet toward him. I highlighted the formulas you mixed up last time. We'll start with permutations today. He glanced down, then blinked. You color-coded the problems? I like order, I said simply, flipping to the right page. And you need it. He laughed under his breath. I feel like I'm in some kind of nerd boot camp. You're in danger of flunking, Massimo. I don't care if you find it boring. I care if you pass. Do you always talk like you're in a courtroom? I finally looked at him, annoyed by how nice his face looked up close. Only when I'm speaking to people who need structure, focus, logic. He tilted his head. And what do you need? I blinked. The question caught me off guard. I need quiet, I said softly, and control. It was the truth. I didn't like unpredictability. I didn't like crowds or loud voices. I didn't like the way being noticed made my stomach twist. I kept my life neat, organized, safe. Massimo was none of those things. Yet here he was, inching his way into my carefully built bubble with every crooked smile and boyish question. We spent the next 40 minutes going over practice problems. He wasn't as hopeless as he pretended to be. He caught on quickly when he actually tried, and when he got one right, he grinned like a little boy who'd finally solved a puzzle. It was unfair how attractive that grin was. When the clock hit 5, I closed the book and slid it back into my bag. That's it for today. He stretched, muscles flexing under his hoodie. You sure? I was just getting the hang of it. I gave him a flat look. Don't fish for compliments. You're already surrounded by people who feed your ego. Not you, though, he said, smiling like it wasn't a complaint. No, I said, not me. He stood when I did, slinging his bag over his shoulder as he walked me to the doors. We stopped outside the building, where dusk had painted the sky in streaks of pink and orange. The air was cool but not unpleasant. You know, he said, glancing at me sideways, you're not what I expected. I frowned. And what did you expect? I don't know. Glasses taped in the middle? Maybe a robot voice. Definitely no attitude. I crossed my arms. Sorry to disappoint. You didn't? You just surprised me. His voice was quieter now, less teasing. For the first time, I heard something real under all that charisma. And I hated how it made my chest feel, like a heartbeat I couldn't control. I looked away quickly. See you next week, Massimo. He gave me a 2-fingered salute. Later, Carter. I didn't look back until I was in my car. He was still standing there, hands in his pockets, staring off at the sky like he was trying to figure something out. Same, DeLuca. Same. That night, I stayed up late doing my own calculus homework, but my mind kept drifting. Not to the formulas, not to my upcoming midterms, but to the boy who sat across from me and looked at me like I wasn't invisible. No one had ever done that before. I was used to being seen only in context. Logan's little sister, the quiet one, the tutor, the background. But Massimo didn't look through me. He looked at me, like I was a person, a challenge maybe, or a mystery, and I wasn't sure I liked that. Later, as I was brushing my teeth, my phone buzzed on the counter. I picked it up and frowned. Block number. The message read, "Stay away from him. You don't belong in his world." My heart stuttered. I read it again, then again. There was no name. No clue who sent it, no signature. Just one terrifying truth that hit me like ice water. Someone was watching, and they didn't want me anywhere near Massimo DeLuca.
Chapter 3, Playing with Fire. Massimo's POV. I stared at the message for at least a full minute before my brain caught up to the words. Stay away from her, or you'll lose more than just the game. The screen glared back at me in the dark, a ghostly white warning that chilled me more than any puck ever had. I'd taken some hits before, on the ice, online, even from angry exes, but this felt different. This was personal. I turned off the phone and sat up in bed, running both hands through my hair. My heart thumped against my ribs like it was trying to escape. I wasn't scared. Not exactly. But whoever sent that message knew something, and they wanted me to know they were watching. Problem was, I didn't know if they meant her, as in Sophia Carter, or her as in someone else. But I had a sinking feeling I knew the answer. The next morning, I didn't tell Logan. What was I supposed to say? Hey bro, I'm starting to maybe catch feelings for your sister, and someone threatened me anonymously about it. Cool? Yeah, no. Instead, I pretended everything was normal. I walked into school like I always did, laughing too loud in the halls, throwing smirks at the girls who lingered near my locker, high-fiving the team. But underneath the surface, something was off. I kept catching myself scanning the halls, waiting for a second message, looking for someone, anyone, watching me a little too closely. Practice that afternoon didn't help. My head wasn't in the game. I kept missing passes, overcorrecting, snapping too hard at my teammates. Coach called me out twice before finally benching me for the last 10 minutes of scrimmage. You better figure your crap out, he barked, gripping his clipboard. Because if this is how you play when scouts are around, you won't have any more chances left. I bit down hard on my mouthguard to stop myself from swearing and nodded. My heart was still pounding by the time I hit the showers. After practice, I told Logan I had to stay late to talk to Coach, which wasn't a total lie. But once I was out of the building, I headed straight to the library. I wasn't supposed to meet Sophia until next week. I just needed to see her. She was exactly where I thought she'd be, tucked into the back corner of the library near the windows, the golden hour sun painting her hair like firelight. She had her head down, pen flying across a page, glasses sliding slightly down her nose. She didn't notice me until I slid into the seat across from her. "You're early," she said, not looking up. "You're not surprised." She paused, then met my eyes. "Why are you here, Massimo?" There was something in her voice, guarded, tighter than before. I noticed the way her fingers clenched around her pen, the flicker of something like worry. "Did you get a weird message last night?" I asked quietly. Her eyes widened just a fraction, just enough to confirm what I already suspected. "You did." She closed her notebook. "It's probably just some prank. Maybe one of your jealous admirers thinks you're flirting with me." I gave her a look. "Are you always this calm when someone threatens you?" "I didn't say I was calm," she muttered. I leaned in, resting my elbows on the table. "Sophia, I'm serious. If someone's messing with you." "They're not," her voice low. "They're trying to scare me. And you. That's it." "Yeah, and that's not nothing." She hesitated, then sighed, rubbing her temples. "Look, maybe this was a mistake." I froze. "What was?" "This." She waved vaguely between us. "Studying, talking, whatever this is. You're not just any guy, Massimo. You're you, and I don't want the drama that follows you like a shadow." That stung more than it should have. I leaned back, trying to hide it behind a smirk. I didn't realize helping me with stats came with a non-flirtation clause. It didn't. I made the clause myself. "I'm not trying to flirt with you," I said. "Not this time." She blinked. "This time?" I looked down at my hands. "I didn't come here just because I needed help. I came because I wanted to see you." The words felt too honest, like I dropped my helmet and let someone take a shot straight at my heart. She didn't respond right away, and that silence, that terrified me more than the anonymous message. Finally, she whispered, "You shouldn't want that." I looked up. "Why not?" "Because nothing about this ends well." She closed her book and stood, stuffing everything into her backpack with practiced control. I stood too, reaching for her wrist before I could think. "Just wait." "Massimo," she said, her voice steady but soft. "Don't make me regret helping you." She pulled away gently, turned, and walked off without looking back. And for once, I didn't chase, because she was right. Nothing about this was simple. Nothing about this was safe. But I already knew something else too. I was in way too deep to turn back. Later that night, after dinner, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone again. I didn't want to admit it, but I kept checking it like it might buzz with another threat. Instead, I got a DM. No name, no profile pic, just another warning. "You were told once, stay away from her. She's not part of your world." I gritted my teeth and typed back, "Come say that to my face." But the message wouldn't send. The account was deleted before I could hit send. Gone, poof, like smoke. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just some prank anymore. This was a threat. Someone was watching, someone who knew about me, about her. Someone who didn't want us anywhere near each other. And I had a bad feeling it was someone close. Really close.
Chapter 4, The Girl in the Shadows. Sophia's POV. I wasn't the kind of girl who got followed. I wasn't loud. I didn't wear flashy clothes. I didn't flirt in hallways or throw parties. I lived my life like an outline, measured, straight, controlled. People glanced past me, not at me. I liked it that way. Until someone decided they didn't. The message had haunted me for days. Stay away from him. You don't belong in his world. And now I was noticing things. A hooded figure outside the library door. A car idling too long across the street from my house. The way someone had brushed against my locker the day before, leaving a small slip of paper that simply read, "Careful." I didn't tell Logan, not because I didn't trust him. He was my brother, my best friend, but because I knew how he'd react. His protective instinct ran hot and reckless. And the moment he found out someone had threatened me, verbally or otherwise, he'd burn the whole school down trying to find them. And Massimo? I couldn't talk to him either. I'd seen his face in the library when I told him we shouldn't do this anymore. He didn't say anything when I walked away, but his eyes said everything. He looked like a boy who didn't hear no very often. A part of me wanted to turn around and explain that I was scared, that I didn't know what this was between us, but it was starting to matter, that it was easier to stay invisible than risk what I was starting to feel for a boy who didn't do commitment. But I didn't. Instead, I tried to stay in my lane: school, studying, planning, things I could solve, things that made sense, until I walked into AP chemistry and everything stopped making sense. Mr. Dalton handed out the project assignments, and I felt my throat tighten as he read off my partner's name, Massimo DeLuca. Laughter rippled through the room. A few girls turned to whisper behind their hands. My face went hot. Mr. Dalton smiled, oblivious. Sophia, you'll be great at keeping him in line. He could use your brain. Massimo slid into the seat next to mine without hesitation, like he hadn't missed a beat since our last conversation. Guess the universe wants us to hang out more. I don't believe in fate, I muttered, pulling my notes toward me. Fine, then blame the curriculum. I didn't respond. He didn't push. We worked in silence for the first 10 minutes. His cologne was subtle, clean, warm, something with sandalwood that somehow made focusing harder. He scribbled half-heartedly while I organized our experiment structure, taking twice as long to avoid the pull of his gaze. Finally, he spoke, quietly. I'm not backing off, you know. I looked up. What? You can keep pushing me away, but I'm not going anywhere. I swallowed. Why? His eyes softened. Because I see you, Sophia, not just Logan's sister. Not the brainiac. You. The girl who hides behind books but doesn't miss anything. The one who doesn't let people in unless they earn it. My chest tightened. People like you don't chase people like me. He tilted his head. Then maybe I'm not like people think I am. I wanted to believe him. But believing in someone like Massimo came with risk. Still, when class ended and we stood to leave, he waited for me. Walked beside me to my locker without asking, didn't touch me, didn't speak, just stayed there like a quiet shield while I swapped out my books. It felt safe, which was the first warning sign that I might be in trouble. That night, I checked the locks on every door and window in the house. Twice. Logan wasn't home, he had late practice, and my parents were away on a conference trip. I told myself I was being paranoid, that the message was just some stupid joke. But when I walked into my room, something was off. My books were moved. My drawer wasn't fully shut. And on my pillow, perfectly centered, was another note. He doesn't know what you've done. My breath caught. What I've done? I hadn't done anything, except fall for someone I shouldn't. Hands shaking, I grabbed my phone and texted Massimo before I could overthink it. Me, I need to talk to you. Now. He replied instantly. Me, where are you? Home. Alone. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then came back. I'm on my way. When he arrived 20 minutes later, I let him in without a word. His face was serious, darker than I'd ever seen it, like something dangerous simmered just under the surface. Tell me everything, he said. So I did. About the notes. The feeling of being watched. The moved books. The last message. He didn't interrupt, just stood there, fists clenched, jaw tight. When I was done, he asked one question. Do you think this is about me? I think. I swallowed. I think someone wants me to stay away from you, or wants you to stay away from me. His eyes searched mine, like he was trying to find a crack in the armor I'd built. Then slowly he reached for my hand. I don't scare easy, Sophia, and I don't run. But what if this gets worse? Then we figure it out, together. And for the first time in days, the fear in my chest quieted. Not gone, but quieter, because I wasn't alone in the dark anymore.
Chapter 5. Blue Lines and Red Flags. Massimo's POV. Sophia's hand was small in mine, but her grip was firm, like she was holding on not just to me, but to something even more fragile. Hope. Safety, a reason not to crumble. I didn't let go. Not when we sat on her living room couch and tried to retrace every weird thing that had happened. Not when she showed me the note. And definitely not when I saw the look in her eyes, wide, scared, and searching for answers. I don't get it, she whispered. What do they think I've done? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know either. All I knew was that this wasn't just about the two of us anymore. It was about something else. Someone was playing a game we didn't understand, and I was done playing nice. The next morning, I went straight to Coach's office before school. He looked surprised when I shut the door behind me. You okay, DeLuca? I need to know if anyone's been asking questions about me. Coach raised an eyebrow. Like who? I don't know. Randoms, reporters, admin, cops, anyone. His face changed just slightly, enough that I caught it. There was a call last week, he admitted, crossing his arms. Said they were from a college recruitment agency. Wanted to confirm your record. Which school? He frowned. Didn't say. Claimed it was confidential, but it felt off. Why? I gave him a tight smile. Just curious. But inside, my gut twisted. There were no coincidences anymore. Someone was digging into my life, and they were getting closer. By third period, I'd already ruled out 3 teammates and 1 ex-girlfriend. None of them had the guts or the brains for what we were dealing with. But someone did. Someone who knew how to stay in the shadows. Someone who hated the idea of me and Sophia. And the worst part, that list wasn't short. Logan wasn't the type to leave creepy notes, but I wouldn't put it past him to warn me off his sister in some overly dramatic big brother way. Except, he'd never be subtle about it. He'd just punch me and call it a day. Besides, he didn't know. Right? I couldn't be sure. I caught up with Sophia after lunch near the science wing. She looked like she hadn't slept, hair in a loose braid, under-eye circles barely hidden by makeup. But when she saw me, her expression softened. You look like hell, I said gently. Thanks. You're a real charmer. I mean it in the most concerned way possible. She exhaled, glancing around to make sure we were alone before she leaned in. I've been thinking about the notes. And? I don't think it's random. I think someone's watching both of us. That made me go still. Why do you say that? Because last night after you left, she hesitated. There was a second note on my window, outside. I stared at her. You didn't tell me that. I didn't want to freak you out more. Sophia, it just said, he's lying to you. That's it. The words slammed into me like a puck to the chest. Suddenly, it wasn't about her being threatened. Now someone wanted her to doubt me. And that meant one thing. They knew my past. That night, I drove out to the edge of town, past the fancy houses, past the school, past the lights, back to where it all started. I parked outside the rundown bar I hadn't seen in nearly 2 years. The place where my cousin Luca used to deal. The place I swore I'd never come back to after I got clean and cut ties with the mess that nearly ruined my future. I stepped inside and the stink of old beer and burnt regret hit me like a wall. He was there, as always, Luca, slouched in a booth like the king of nothing, cigarette between his fingers, eyes cold and calculating. Well, if it isn't the golden boy, he smirked. Didn't expect to see you crawl back. I'm not here to crawl. What then? Regret? Remorse? Or did your halo finally crack? I leaned over the table, voice low. Did you send someone after me? He laughed, raspy and mean. Why would I waste time on you? Because someone's watching me, threatening someone close to me. His gaze sharpened. Oh, you mean her. The girl, the good one. I didn't move, but he saw it, the slight twitch in my jaw. That's what this is about, he said. You're getting soft, Massimo, playing house with little nerd princesses while pretending your hands aren't dirty. My hands aren't dirty anymore. Luca's smile disappeared. Doesn't matter. Someone's always happy to remind you where you came from. He leaned closer. You can change your clothes, your friends, your school, but not your blood. Don't forget that. I walked out before I did something I'd regret, but I couldn't unhear the warning. When I got home that night, I found a photo tucked into my locker door, a printed one, of me and Sophia, from the library, from inside the building. We were sitting close, too close. She was laughing, her head tilted toward mine. Scrawled across the bottom in thick red marker were the words, "You really think she's safe with you?" My hands shook. They'd crossed the line. Now it was war. And whoever was behind this, they were about to learn the hard way. You don't come after the people I care about. Not without consequences.
Chapter 6. Chemistry Lab and Mixed Signals. Sophia's POV. Massimo DeLuca was perched on the edge of my lab table like he owned the place, which frankly he kind of did, at least socially. Even surrounded by glass beakers and a laminated safety chart, he managed to look like some kind of runway model sent by the Italian gods to wreak havoc on my nervous system. And the worst part, he knew it. "You're staring again," he said, not even looking up from the Bunsen burner. No, I wasn't. He finally glanced at me, smirking. "Sophia, you've looked at that beaker for 10 minutes and haven't written a single observation." I coughed, fidgeting with my pencil. "I'm formulating hypotheses in my head." He leaned closer, voice a little lower. And are those hypotheses about chemical reactions or about how good I look in this shirt? I dropped my pencil. Massimo. Yes. You're insufferable. He grinned. You say that like it's a bad thing. God help me, it wasn't. Not lately. Ever since the notes started, we've been spending more time together, not just out of necessity, but because I liked him. The real him. The one who walked me to class and made me feel safe. Who didn't push when I was quiet, but always noticed when I was hurting. And that Massimo? He wasn't a player. He was protective, funny, a little cocky, but underneath all of that, heartbreakingly sincere. I just didn't know what to do with that. Are you free after school? He asked suddenly, like it was no big deal. Why? I want to take you somewhere. Somewhere like public or private? His smile widened. You think I'm trying to seduce you? I think you're always trying to seduce me. I think you like it. I flushed. That's not the point. He leaned in, eyes playful. But you do like it. Massimo? Yes? Pick up your beaker and stir the potassium iodide before I throw it at your head. He laughed, and God, I loved the sound of it. He had the kind of laugh that made other people smile, even if they didn't know why. Like joy clung to him no matter how messy the rest of the world got. And despite everything, the notes, the fear, I found myself smiling too. After class, he walked me to my locker, spinning a keyring around his finger. You trust me, he asked casually. That's a loaded question. It's a yes or no. I closed my locker. Yes, against my better judgment. Good, he said, handing me a helmet, because you're getting on my bike. I stared at it. That's a death trap. It's Italian craftsmanship. It's 2 wheels and a death wish. He leaned down, whispering in my ear. You're gonna look gorgeous on the back of it. Massimo. Come on, nerd girl, take a risk. He called me that sometimes, nerd girl, but never like an insult. More like a secret nickname only he got to use. And every time he said it, it made my stomach flutter in a way I wasn't prepared to admit. Fine, I muttered, but if I die, I'm haunting you. I'd expect nothing less. He took me to a lake I'd never seen before, just past the edge of town, quiet, hidden behind a patch of pine trees. The kind of place you could only find if someone wanted to show it to you. He spread out a blanket under the shade and handed me a thermos. Hot chocolate. Don't say I never romance you. I raised an eyebrow. This your go-to seduction spot? He looked mildly offended. Excuse me, this is sacred ground. I laughed. Massimo DeLuca, bringing girls to the lake since 2019. No, he said, suddenly serious. Only you. My heart did a strange little hiccup. Why me? He stared at the water, thoughtful. Because you don't care about who I pretend to be. You care about who I actually am. And I think that's rare. We sat in silence for a moment, sipping hot chocolate while the wind made ripples across the water. It was peaceful in a way I hadn't felt in weeks. Then I said it. I got another message this morning. His jaw tightened. What did it say? It was in my locker. Just one line. He's already hurt someone before you. Massimo went still. He didn't speak for a long time, just stared out at the lake like it held answers. Is it true? I asked softly. He didn't look at me. Yeah, sort of. Tell me, he sighed, voice rough. Before I moved here, I was seeing this girl back in Italy, Serena. It wasn't serious for me, but it was for her. She got in deep, obsessive. When I tried to end it, she made a scene. Spread rumors. One of them nearly tanked my scholarship to the sports academy. It got ugly. I didn't handle it well. Did you hurt her? He looked at me then, really looked. Not the way the note's trying to make it sound. I broke her heart, yeah. I was selfish. I was young and careless and thought feelings were optional, but I never laid a hand on her. I'd never do that. I nodded slowly. I believe you. He exhaled, shoulders sagging with visible relief. I don't want to lie to you, Sophia. Not ever. Then don't. I won't, he promised. But someone's trying really hard to turn you against me. I know. You're not scared of me? I shook my head. I'm more scared of how much I like you. He smiled then, slow, real. That same crooked grin that always managed to short-circuit my brain. You like me, huh? Unfortunately. He leaned closer. Want to kiss me again? My heart hammered. Is this your idea of subtle? No, he murmured. This is. And then he kissed me. Soft at first, careful, as if he thought I might pull away. I didn't. I leaned into him like I was falling, and he was the only thing tethering me to the earth. It was the kind of kiss that made time dissolve, that made everything, notes, fear, danger, fade into silence, until the loud snap of a branch cut through the air. We broke apart instantly. Massimo stood up fast, scanning the trees. I stood too, clutching the helmet. "Did you hear that?" He nodded once, jaw clenched. "We're not alone." His protective switch flipped in an instant. He grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the bike. "We need to get out of here. Now." As the engine roared to life and we sped back toward town, I clung to him, not just because of the speed, but because I had a terrible feeling someone was watching, and they weren't done yet.
Chapter 7, Fire and Ice. Massimo's POV. I couldn't sleep, not because I wasn't tired, not because I didn't need it, but because her face wouldn't leave my mind. The way Sophia looked at me when I kissed her, like I'd just broken every rule she'd ever followed and made her grateful for it. That kiss had branded itself on me, burned beneath my skin, and I hadn't even gotten close to enough. I wanted more. God, I wanted all of her. But she wasn't just some girl at a party or a fan who screamed my name from the bleachers. She was Sophia Romano, Logan's sister, my best friend's baby sister. Brilliant, beautiful, sweet as hell, and too good for someone like me. But somehow she'd chosen me, and now someone was trying to scare her away. From me, from this. That wasn't going to happen. The next morning, I parked outside the Romano house 10 minutes early. Sophia opened the door wrapped in a fuzzy cream sweater that fell off one shoulder and a short pleated skirt that made my brain short-circuit. Her long brown hair was still damp from the shower, tucked behind her ear in that innocent way that somehow made her 10 times more dangerous. She blinked, surprised to see me. "Hi?" I leaned against the hood of my bike, arms crossed, sunglasses on. "You're late. You're early. You look like trouble." Her eyes narrowed, playful. "You look like you just stepped out of a perfume ad." I smirked. "Want a ride?" She bit her lip, clearly fighting a smile. "I'm still mad you made me get on that thing yesterday." "And yet," I said, holding out the helmet, "you're already walking toward me." She rolled her eyes, took the helmet, and got on behind me. Her arms slid around my waist, and for a second, I forgot how to breathe. I didn't take her to school. Instead, I drove to the old hockey rink on the edge of town, the one that had been shut down years ago and now stood silent, coated in dust and history. I'd bribed the groundskeeper the night before to let me in early. "Why are we here?" she asked, following me through the side entrance. "You'll see." The inside was dimly lit by skylights, the ice cracked and barely frozen, but it was still a rink, still sacred. I walked to center ice and turned to face her. I needed somewhere no one would interrupt us. Her brows lifted. "For what exactly?" I stepped closer. "To ask you something." She swallowed, eyes searching mine. "Okay. What are we doing, Sophia?" Her breath hitched. "I mean it," I continued. "This us. You say you trust me, but you keep looking at me like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, like I'm going to break your heart and disappear." "I'm not. You are," I said softly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "And I don't blame you. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. But I need to know if you're in this, really in it. Because if you are—" My voice dropped. "I'm not letting go." She blinked fast, lips parting. "Massimo, I want you," I said, taking her hand and placing it over my heart. "I want every nerdy ramble, every shy glance, every smart-ass comment and clumsy fall. I want you, not the version you hide, but the one who kisses like she's afraid and brave all at once." Silence. Then, "Okay," she whispered. "I'm in." My chest expanded with relief and hunger, because the second she said it, I kissed her. Not soft this time. Hungry, hot, deep. Her hand slid into my hair as she stood on her toes, her body pressing into mine, warm and real and shaking just a little. My arms wrapped tight around her waist, pulling her impossibly close. I wanted to feel all of her, every curve, every heartbeat, every sigh. She was fire and frost, hot against me but trembling, like she wasn't used to this kind of heat. And maybe she wasn't. But she didn't pull away. Her lips parted for me, shy at first, then bolder as I deepened the kiss. I groaned softly against her mouth, and she gasped in surprise, making me want to devour her all over again. I slid my hand under her sweater, just her waist, nothing more, and her breath caught. "Sophia," I murmured against her lips, "tell me when to stop." Her eyes met mine, wide and glassy. "I don't want you to stop." That almost undid me. But I didn't go further, not here. Not yet. Instead, I tucked her into my arms and kissed the top of her head, breathing her in like oxygen. "We'll go slow," I promised. "At your pace. She nodded, burying her face in my chest. But the moment didn't last. Because just as we turned to leave, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A single text, unknown number. "You really think she knows who you are?" Underneath the message was a photo of me in a fight from 2 years ago. My fist buried in another guy's jaw, blood on my shirt. A moment I thought was buried, a moment I never wanted Sophia to see. She noticed the way I tensed. "What is it?" I turned the screen away. "Nothing." Lie. I hated myself for it instantly. But if she saw that picture, if she knew what I used to be, I didn't know if she'd still look at me the same way. And I wasn't ready to lose her. Not now. Not ever.
Chapter 8, Cracks in the Ice, Sophia's POV. I didn't sleep much the night after Massimo kissed me again. Not because I regretted it, but because I didn't want to lose the feeling. That heat. That rightness. Like I'd stepped off a cliff and landed safely in his arms. But it wasn't just the kiss. It was the way he looked at me, like I was the only thing he'd ever fight for. Like he was already fighting, and I didn't even know it yet. I'd never felt wanted like that before. And it terrified me. The next day, the air between us was warmer, more charged. I caught him watching me from across the cafeteria, one hand wrapped lazily around his water bottle, the other twirling a pencil like he had all the time in the world, and all he wanted to do with it was look at me. When our eyes met, he smirked. That smirk. Half sin, half secret. And I forgot how to eat. Later that night, I was sitting at my desk trying to write a paper on thermal conductivity, but my thoughts kept slipping back to him, to the way he held me at the rink, to the fire in his kiss, to the unspoken thing in his eyes before he pulled away, like he wanted more, needed more, but something was holding him back. I checked my phone. No texts. Strange. Massimo usually messaged me with something ridiculous or sweet every night, even if it was just to say he'd been thinking about me. I waited another hour. Still nothing. My stomach twisted. Not with panic, not yet, but with a small, sharp unease, like something wasn't quite right. I opened my texts, scrolled up, back through our thread, all the way to the beginning, when his first message was just, "So, do nerds like coffee, or are you more of a hot chocolate girl?" I smiled. Then I saw it, a message from an unknown number sitting above our chat. "Be careful who you trust. They always look like saints until the truth gets out." My skin went cold. I stared at the text for a full minute, heart hammering. Then I looked closer. There was an attached image, just a blurred thumbnail. I hesitated, then clicked it. The photo loaded slowly, pixel by pixel. A group of guys, loud, angry. One of them, Massimo, shoving another guy against a wall. His eyes were wild, his jaw clenched, fists raised. My breath caught, no date, no caption, no context. But the picture didn't lie. Massimo wasn't calm or collected or just a little jealous here. He looked dangerous. I closed the photo quickly, locking my phone. No, don't jump to conclusions. He said he's changed. Still, my hands trembled. What had happened that night? Who took that photo? And why send it to me? I needed answers. The next morning, I barely made it through first period. I spotted Massimo by the vending machines between classes, joking with a teammate. He looked normal, relaxed, like nothing was wrong. But when he saw me, something in his expression changed. Like he could tell I knew something now, like he was bracing for it. "Sophia," he said, walking toward me, voice low. "You okay?" I nodded quickly. "Yeah, just tired." He didn't buy it. I watched him carefully, not just his words, but his body language. The tightness in his shoulders, the shadows under his eyes. He was hiding something. I could feel it. And suddenly, the thought struck me like a slap. What if this whole time, I've only known the version of Massimo he wants me to see? What if the truth is darker? What if the heat between us is only the surface, and the fire underneath is something I can't handle?
Chapter 9, Possession, Massimo's POV. Things were getting strained between us, the secrets, the lies. I reached school early today. My mind focused on my dilemma until I saw something that made me mad. I've never wanted to punch someone for smiling before, but then again, I'd never seen someone smile at her like that. Griffin Blake, trust fund brat, tennis team golden boy, hair that probably had its own agent, and now he was flirting with Sophia in broad daylight, like he hadn't just stepped into my personal minefield. I watched them from across the hall, jaw clenched, heart pounding in that too loud, too familiar rhythm I usually only heard before a fight on the ice. She was smiling, a soft, hesitant curve. Her arms were crossed, one hand fiddling with the strap of her backpack. She did that when she was nervous. I stalked toward them without thinking. He leaned in like he had something charming to say, something clever. Sophia laughed politely, looking down. God, her cheeks were pink. Was she blushing for him? Hey, princess. Her head snapped up, and the moment her eyes locked with mine, I felt it. That pull, that spark, that belonging. Massimo, she said, surprised but happy. Griffin turned, visibly annoyed. Oh, hey, man, he said way too casually. I slipped my arm around Sophia's waist and pulled her into my side. She didn't resist. We good here? I asked, looking him square in the eye. Griffin gave a tight-lipped smile. Yeah, just talking. She's not really in the market for conversation right now, I said smoothly. Not when she's taken. Sophia's cheeks flared a deeper shade of red, and she nudged me slightly with her elbow. I didn't care. He needed to get the message. Griffin raised a brow, clearly sizing me up. Then he gave Sophia one last glance, smirked like he knew something I didn't, and walked away. I watched him disappear down the hall before turning to her. You okay? She gave me a flat look. What was that? Me preventing a felony. You saw the way he was looking at you. I was looking at him, she shot back, her voice teasing but edged. You're mine. Her eyes widened. Excuse me? I leaned in, brushing my lips along her ear so no one else could hear. Say it's not true, and I'll back off. She turned her head, lips inches from mine. You're possessive, I smiled. Only when it comes to you. Later that night, we ended up in my bedroom, alone, lights low, music playing softly from my speaker. My hoodie swallowed her frame again, too big, sleeves past her fingertips, and honestly, it made me feral. She sat on my bed, legs curled underneath her, nibbling on a Twizzler while quizzing me with flashcards she'd made for our psychology class. She was focused, adorable, brilliant. And I wanted nothing more than to pin her to my mattress and kiss every inch of her. All right, she said. Define cognitive dissonance. Easy. It's what I feel when I say I respect your boundaries, but want to throw those flashcards across the room and kiss you breathless. Her lips twitched. That is not the textbook definition. I crawled onto the bed in front of her, kneeling between her knees. It should be. She dropped the flashcards. I kissed her. Soft at first, gentle, like asking a question. She answered with her hands, sliding up my arms, fingers threading behind my neck. Her lips moved with mine like she'd been made for me, like this wasn't new, just inevitable. When I deepened the kiss, she let out the softest sound in the back of her throat, and my restraint nearly shattered. Tell me to stop, I whispered against her lips. She didn't. Instead, she leaned in harder, her nails scratching lightly down my back through my shirt. Every nerve in my body lit up. I kissed down her jaw, her neck slow and reverent, until she was trembling under my hands. But just as I started to slide my hand beneath the hem of her hoodie, she pulled back. I want to go slow. I nodded immediately, pressing my forehead to hers. Anything you want, Sophie. You're in control. She exhaled shakily. You make it really hard. Good. That means I'm doing it right. After she left, I collapsed onto my bed, still smelling her perfume on my sheets. My heart was full, but tight too, because I knew this wouldn't last. Not if they kept coming. Not if they showed her what I'd done. My phone buzzed again. Blocked number. No words this time. Just a video file titled, You Thought You Could Hide? My stomach turned. I tapped it open. The screen lit up with flickering, grainy footage. A fight, a girl screaming. Me, drunk, furious, pinning a guy to the ground in the middle of a party. I hadn't seen this angle before. It looked bad. Real bad. Too bad. If she saw it, if she believed it, I'd lose everything. I shut off the screen and stared into the darkness, chest tight. How long until Sophia found out, and would she still look at me the same? Would she still love me?
Chapter 10, Broken Trust. Sophia's POV. The first time Massimo kissed me, I thought my world changed. The second time, I knew it had. Now every time I close my eyes, I feel his hands on my waist, his breath on my neck, his voice saying my name like it was sacred. And yet, something was off. He was quieter lately, distracted. Still mine when we were alone, but different. Like he was holding something back. I could feel the shift in the way he kissed me, hungrier, but somehow sad. And then Logan found out. It started with something stupid. I left my phone unlocked on the kitchen table while I went to refill my water. Logan was sitting nearby, flipping through a scouting brochure for some Northeastern hockey schools. I didn't think anything of it. Why would I? He never looked at my stuff, but I should have known better. Because when I came back, the room was dead silent. Logan was staring at my screen, right at a photo of me and Massimo. One I'd taken in his room the night we kissed again. I was in his hoodie. My lips were swollen. His hand was tangled in my hair, both of us flushed and grinning like idiots. I froze. His eyes snapped to mine, dark and stormy. You're joking. Logan? You and Massimo? I reached for my phone, but he stood, his voice rising. How long has this been going on? I opened my mouth, closed it. A few weeks. He barked a bitter laugh. A few weeks? Are you insane? He's my best friend, Sophia. I felt heat rush to my cheeks, guilt, embarrassment, but also a flicker of anger. I didn't plan this, okay? It just happened. You know who he is, what he's done. He's not safe for you. He's not a monster, Logan. He stepped closer, towering. You're 17. He's 18, reckless, and he used to get into fights like breathing. You think he's changed? Just like that? My throat tightened. You don't see him the way I do? No, you don't see him clearly at all. We didn't talk for the rest of the night. Logan stormed out, slamming the door so hard the picture frames rattled. I sat on the couch alone, knees tucked to my chest, clutching Massimo's hoodie like it could protect me from everything falling apart. I knew Logan wasn't wrong to worry. I'd seen the video again earlier. The fight, the rage in Massimo's eyes, and now this. Logan's discovery, his fury. It felt like the world was unraveling thread by thread, and I was stuck in the middle. Later that evening, I tried to study. I couldn't focus. My thoughts were a storm of what-ifs and memories, and the sharp pain of Logan's voice saying he's not safe. Then my phone buzzed. Massimo, need to see you. My heart flipped and sank all at once. Me, Logan knows. The 3 dots popped up immediately, then vanished. He didn't respond for several minutes. Then Massimo, meet me behind the rink, 30 minutes. I found him leaning against his car, hood up, face shadowed under the overhead lights. When he saw me, he pushed off the car and walked straight to me. Before I could speak, he cupped my jaw and kissed me, hard. Desperate. I kissed him back, because I needed to, because the fire in him matched the chaos in me. But when we finally pulled apart, I pressed a hand to his chest. Logan's furious. He saw the picture. Massimo swore under his breath. I was gonna tell him, I swear. I didn't want to lose him, or you. You might have lost both. His eyes were wild. I can't lose you, Sophie. I've done everything wrong in my life, but you're the only thing that feels right. My throat tightened. Then why does it feel like you're still lying to me? He blinked. I saw a video, I whispered, of you at that cabin party with some guy on the floor and a girl screaming in the background. You look like someone else, someone I don't recognize. His hands dropped from my waist. I watched the guilt crawl up his neck and into his face. I didn't hurt her, he said quietly. I swear to you, Sophia, I was protecting her. Then why haven't you told me the truth? He took a step back. Because the truth is ugly, and I didn't want you to look at me like this. I stared at him, this beautiful, broken boy who had stolen my heart and maybe lied to protect it. A lump rose in my throat. I already am looking at you like this.
Chapter 11. No more hiding Massimo's POV. I barely slept that night. I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling fan slicing slow circles into the dark, every creak of its rotation louder than my thoughts. Sophia had pulled away from me. Not because she didn't care. That was the worst part. She did. I saw it in the tears she tried to blink away, in the way her hand trembled when she touched my chest, in the question she asked in a whisper, almost afraid of the answer. Then why haven't you told me the truth? And I couldn't answer. Not fully. Not yet. Because the truth could tear us both apart. At 7 a.m., Logan banged on my front door like he wanted to rip it off the hinges. I opened it, still in yesterday's hoodie, hair a mess, eyes raw. He didn't even hesitate. He shoved me back hard enough that my shoulder hit the wall behind me. You're a fucking coward. Logan, no, shut up. You're not going to charm your way out of this, Massimo. His voice cracked. He wasn't just angry, he was betrayed. You were supposed to be my brother, he growled, and you went behind my back and touched her. She's not a possession. Don't start with that philosophical crap. You lied to me. You snuck around with her. You kept secrets. I didn't mean for it to happen. But it did, he snapped. So don't act like the noble guy now. His fists clenched at his sides. You think loving her makes it okay? Yes, I said. His head jerked back slightly. I stepped forward. I love her. I fucking love her, Logan. And I know I should have told you. I know I've been selfish, but I'm not walking away from her. He stared at me, nostrils flared, jaw twitching. Then, like he couldn't hold it anymore, he swung. I saw it coming. I could have dodged, but I didn't. His fist cracked against my cheekbone. Sharp, blinding pain. I stumbled sideways, steadied myself with one hand against the wall. I wiped my mouth. Blood on my knuckle. Familiar. Feel better? I asked quietly. Not even close. Good, I breathed, because I'm not done fighting for her. When Logan left, slamming the door behind him, the silence he left behind was thicker than before. He was right. I was a coward. Not for falling in love with Sophia, but for not trusting her with the truth. So I stared at myself in the bathroom mirror, tracing the forming bruise along my cheekbone, and decided, no more hiding. The party, the video, the fight. I'd buried it for so long it almost felt like it belonged to someone else. But the memory was as vivid now as the night it happened. It was the middle of winter, cold enough to turn your breath to frost. We were out at a cabin near Lake Como, supposed to be a celebration after winning the regional hockey tournament. Everyone was drinking, laughing, loud music, dark corners. That's when I saw Adriana, my cousin, like a sister to me. She was trying to pull away from her boyfriend, Jace, an older guy who ran with the wrong kind of crowd. I hated him the moment I met him. He made my skin crawl. The way he looked at girls like they were prey. And that night, he had his hand around her arm, dragging her down the hall. She was crying, begging. I saw red. I yanked him off her. He swung first. I finished it. He ended up unconscious on the floor, blood on the tile. Adriana clung to me, sobbing. But by then, someone had filmed it. Just the last few seconds. Me wailing on Jace like I'd lost my mind. Her screaming. Him motionless. It went viral before I could even explain. But my uncle, Adriana's father, was a politician, the kind that doesn't tolerate scandal. He shut it down, paid off witnesses, made me disappear for 2 weeks, told me to never speak about it again, or we'd both suffer. So I never did. Not until now. I drove straight to Sophia's house. My palms were sweating on the wheel, my lips still bleeding. But my chest, it was steady. For the first time in weeks, her mom opened the door and looked surprised. Massimo, are you all right? I nodded once. Can I talk to her? She's upstairs. I climbed the stairs 2 at a time, every step pounding like a drum beat. At her bedroom door, I stopped. It opened a crack. She was curled up on the window seat, hoodie pulled over her knees, laptop on her lap but untouched. Her face was pale, blotchy from crying. Her hair was in a messy bun. She looked like a porcelain version of herself. Soft, quiet, cracked. She didn't notice me at first. I knocked softly. She looked up. Her breath hitched. Sophia? She didn't say a word. I stepped inside, closed the door behind me. The silence stretched. Finally, I dropped to the floor across from her and looked her straight in the eyes. I should have told you everything, I said, but I was scared. Not of you, of what you think, of what it would do to us. She didn't move. Her lips were pressed tight, her fingers clenched in her hoodie. I exhaled shakily. It was my cousin, Adriana, the girl in the video, the guy, her boyfriend. He hit her. I stopped him. I got film doing it. The rest got buried. Her eyes widened slowly. I didn't tell anyone. I was made to feel like a monster, and for a while I believed it. Her bottom lip trembled. You shouldn't have gone through that alone. I didn't want you to go through it with me, I said softly. You're the only part of my life that's light. I didn't want to drag you into the dark. She stood slowly, crossed the room, and sat beside me. I felt her hand curl around mine. I'm not afraid of the dark, she whispered. I'm afraid of losing you in it. I let out a sound that was part laugh, part sob. She leaned in, and this time I kissed her. Soft, deep, familiar, like coming home. Later, we lay on her bed tangled up in silence, her head on my chest, my fingers stroking lazy lines across her spine. Logan punched you, huh? She murmured. Yep. Good, I grinned. Deserved it. You did. I'll take 100 punches if it means I get to keep you. She pulled my hoodie tighter around her. I'm yours, she whispered. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in forever, I let myself believe it. But peace never lasts. Later that night, my phone buzzed from where it sat on the desk, blocked number. I opened the message. We warned you, Captain. You didn't listen. Now she pays the price. Attached was a photo. Sophia that afternoon, walking home alone, headphones in. In the background, half blurred in shadow, someone was following her. My blood turned cold, every muscle in my body went rigid. They'd crossed the line. And now it was war.
Chapter 12. Always Him. Sophia's POV. There are moments in life where everything slows down, like time itself takes a breath and holds it. That's how it felt the second I stepped out of the bookstore that evening and felt the chill. Not the kind you get from cold air, but the one that brushes your spine, feather-light and threatening. It was dusk, the kind of dusky blue that paints the sky in a quiet sadness. The streets weren't empty, but they might as well have been. Everyone was just shadows moving in their own little worlds. I pulled my hoodie tighter and slipped my headphones in. Taylor Swift hummed softly in my ears. Normally, she made me feel safe, like a blanket of lyrics could protect me. Not today, because I could feel it. Someone was following me. I turned onto the side street that led to home. My sneakers scuffed against the pavement. Every sound felt louder. My breath, the crackle of leaves, the low murmur of footsteps that weren't mine. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I knew. Then came the voice, low, sharp, like a blade hidden in a whisper. "Hey, sweetheart, going somewhere?" I froze mid-step. My stomach dropped. I turned slowly. There were two of them, both in black hoodies. One wore a ski mask. The other just smirked, hands stuffed in his pockets like this was routine. Like I was just a task. "I wouldn't scream," the masked one said. "We're not here to hurt you unless you make us." My throat tightened, but before I could speak, before I could run, headlights flooded the alley like a floodlight cracking open the dark. A car screeched to a halt, and then I heard it. His voice, raw, ragged, feral. "Get the away from her, Massimo." He was out of the car before it fully stopped, sprinting toward us like every muscle in his body had one command: protect her. The masked guy pulled a knife. My breath caught in my throat. But Massimo didn't flinch. He tackled the first guy, knocking the knife from his hand. It clattered to the ground, flashing silver before disappearing in the shadows. The second guy lunged at him, but Massimo pivoted, swinging hard, landing a brutal hit to his jaw. Blood sprayed. I screamed his name. One of the men grabbed me by the wrist, yanking me backward, trying to drag me away. And then, crack. Massimo's elbow slammed into the man's temple. The guy dropped like a puppet with cut strings. Silence. Just ragged breaths. My pulse thundering in my ears. Then sirens. Someone must have called them. Maybe a neighbor, maybe Massimo himself. The guys were groaning on the ground by the time the red and blue lights washed the street in chaos. Massimo's shirt was torn, blood smeared across his cheek, knuckles raw and split. But his eyes were locked on me. He ran to me, hands shaking, cupping my face. "Sophia," he breathed. "You're okay. Tell me you're okay." "I'm okay," I whispered. "You came. I'll always come for you." The police took statements. His uncle showed up, surprisingly cooperative for once, and helped make the rest disappear. Apparently, the guys were connected to Jace. A little revenge for the beatdown Massimo gave him. They wanted to scare him. Use me as leverage. It didn't work. Massimo made sure of that. Later, when the adrenaline had worn off, we sat on the hood of his car outside my house, under a sky full of stars that looked too pretty for such an ugly night. I leaned against him, still wearing his hoodie, too shaken to go inside just yet. "You scared me," I whispered. "I scared myself." I looked up at him. "You were incredible. I was desperate. You were mine." He turned to me, eyes glassy, jaw tight. "I meant what I said, you know? I love you. I've loved you from the first time you rolled your eyes at me in that lab." I smiled. "I remember. You called me a nerd. I was flirting. You were obnoxious. Still am," he said with a crooked grin. "But you make me want to be better." I reached for his hand and pressed it to my chest, right over my heart. "You already are." He kissed me then. Not soft, not gentle, but deep. Hungry, like he was trying to breathe me in and never let go. And I let him. Because after all the pain, all the lies, all the danger, he was still the boy who made my heart stutter, the one I would have chosen in every lifetime. That night, I went to sleep in his arms, his heartbeat against my back, his breath in my hair, and for the first time, I didn't feel like the shy girl in the background. I felt like a girl who had fought for her story and won. Because love like this, it wasn't easy. It was wild, messy, loud, painful, but it was real, and it was ours. Epilogue. After the storm, Sophia's POV. 3 months later, everything looked the same, but nothing felt like it. Spring had arrived like a promise, soft blossoms on trees, warm sun on our faces, the smell of cut grass and possibility in the air. Our final exams were done, graduation gowns were hanging in our closets. The next chapter was waiting, open, terrifying, and beautiful. And somehow, through all of it, Massimo was still mine. Logan didn't speak to either of us for 2 weeks after the alley. Then one day, he just showed up at my locker. No rage, no shouting, just silence. I looked up, unsure of what I'd find in his expression. He stared at me for a long second, then muttered, "If he breaks your heart, I'm legally allowed to break his face." I blinked. "That's your way of giving us your blessing." He rolled his eyes. "It's the closest you're getting. Don't push it." But as he walked away, he turned back briefly and added, "You look happy, Soph. For real. I guess that's all I ever wanted." And then he was gone. Massimo passed his exams. He didn't just pass, he crushed them. The guy who once skipped study halls to flirt with cheerleaders was suddenly turning in handwritten essays and acing chemistry. I like to think I had something to do with that. And when his name was called at graduation, I swear I cheered louder than anyone else in the entire stadium. He winked at me from the stage. My heart stuttered. It always did when he looked at me like that. But prom? Prom was something else. It was held at a fancy vineyard-turned-event hall just outside of town. The sky was painted gold and lavender as we pulled up. The world dipped in magic. I wore a midnight blue gown that hugged my body and sparkled faintly when I moved. My hair was pinned back in soft waves, a few curls framing my face. Massimo, he looked like every cliché. Black tux, black shirt, dark gray tie that brought out the slate in his eyes. Clean-shaven, curls tamed, but still him. Still the boy who had once smirked at me across a chemistry lab and never stopped chasing my heart. When he saw me, he actually froze mid-step. "You're staring," I teased, blushing. He stepped closer, eyes never leaving mine. "I've fought guys with knives, stared down your brother, and skated in front of 1,000 people. But this, you, right now, this is the moment I'm most nervous." I laughed softly. "Why?" He reached out and slipped his hand into mine. "Because I'm going to say something that matters." We danced. God, we danced. Under strings of lights and stars, in a swirl of laughter and stolen kisses, like the world had always been meant to bring us here. Then the music slowed. A soft piano ballad played, one of those songs that makes your chest ache. And that's when he pulled me a little closer, hands gentle at my waist, voice low at my ear. "I'm not good with words," he murmured. "You did fine with chemistry." He chuckled. "Let me try now." I smiled. "Okay." He looked down at me, and something in his eyes shifted, like the walls were finally truly gone. "Sophia, I've loved you since before I even knew what love was, and now that I know, it's terrifying and permanent and beautiful, and I never ever want to live a life that doesn't have you in it." Tears prickled behind my eyes. He cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheek. "I love you," he said, "and I'll say it 1,000 more times, 1,000 different ways, as long as you'll let me." I smiled through the tears and whispered, "Then start now, because I'm not going anywhere." And I kissed him. Right there in the middle of our last night as high school kids. No more secrets, no more hiding, just us, Massimo and Sophia, chaos and calm, fury and light, and a love that had been written in stars long before we ever knew how to read them. The end. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe if you would love one to read one more chapter that keeps you in the loop.